So as I was saying, I'd normally be in high vis right about now, wearing a pair of sneakers and certainly not wearing heels on a Wednesday. So when Leanne said it's on a Wednesday, I was like, oh no, not a Wednesday. But anyway, it's wonderful to be here this morning, and we did make it happen this morning, and we got up extra early and got organised. I've just dropped my speech, so I'm going to pop down and get that because I will need it. Best laid plans and all. So it's wonderful to have everyone here this morning. Thank you so much for making the time to come out to celebrate International Women's Day for 2021. It is wonderful to be here considering the year we've had and the COVID issues. So yeah, 2020, what a year. It's pretty safe to say that it didn't go to plan. As Leanne mentioned, I do run the Kiama Farmers Market, but I also run the Berry Farmers Market on a Thursday. And like everyone, at the beginning of 2020, I was in absolute despair the way that our countryside was on fire. The drought was happening in full swing. We had really tense moments. For example, our mushroom farmer down at Tamil was struggling to save his farm from fire raging all around him. Scott, our honey producer up near Braidwood, wasn't going to leave his property. He had fire embers everywhere. He didn't know whether he was going to lose his house and his property. Feed for livestock was expensive and hard to come by. There were water restrictions in place, dams and natural fed springs. I look at you, Celia, when I say this. They're all drying up and things were really, really grim. And then we got rain, and we got a lot of rain. And then we started hearing in March about this thing called coronavirus and COVID-19, and suddenly the whole world changed again. At that stage, we were very much about wanting people to come back to our area. We wanted people to come with empty eskies. We wanted them to embrace our community and support our local businesses. And all of a sudden, we found ourselves in a situation where we were scared of people and we were having to isolate, and we were, shunning people and saying some really horrendous things amongst ourselves and on social media as well. It struck me this morning, actually, that it was exactly 12 months ago today we actually set up our first of our COVID safety requirements, and that was our hand washing stations at the market. And it's pretty safe to say we didn't have a clue about how to run a farmer's market in a pandemic situation. It was a case-by-case, day-by-day sort of scenario. Now, those hand washing stations were our saving grace throughout COVID. We came under some pretty close scrutiny from the local police, Illawarra Command Police, and indeed from Kiama Council, to the point where on the 1st of April, which I thought was a bit of an April Fool's joke, we received an email the morning of the market to say that would be our last market. We were being shut down, our licence was being suspended, and that was that. But thankfully, the then General Manager at the time, Kerry McMurray, took the time to come down and talk to us and talk to the police and work through our plan with us, and they went away and had a meeting, and that decision was overruled. There is an alleged story that Kel Gray from the Pines did call the Mayor and suggest that he would bring down a lot of steaming cow pads to Council's doorstep if that decision wasn't reversed. I can't confirm or deny that, and maybe you know more about than I do. So anyway, there was that being floated around as well. But those hand washing stations, oh my God, they were our saviour. And Des Whittingslow from Splashdown Events, Celia's husband, was the one who donated those to us. Des and Celia are massive advocates of local food. Celia heads up the Slow Food Saddleback organisation, and it's safe to say without them pushing us to take in those hand washing stations, we wouldn't have been able to continue running the market. We certainly couldn't have afforded to hire them. Des had phone calls left, right and centre getting those hand washing stations, and he could have rented them out for, gosh, lots of money, but he didn't. He supported us. He gave us a trailer to move everything around with, and it allowed us to remain open. It allowed us to remain open for our community so that people could access fresh food, they could access company and companionship and connection, but it also gave our farmers an access to a livelihood, which was so important at the time. And that's what the beautiful side of our community is all about, and we were so, so grateful at that time. On the flip side, there was some ugly sides that were happening as well behind the scenes, and certainly through March last year, we were bombarded with trolls and negative comments that criticised the market for staying open. It was pretty horrific, in all honesty. I'd never experienced anything like it, and I hope I never experience anything like it again, and I hope no one in this room experiences it. But it was really confronting in that the comments people were saying that we were trying to kill their grandparents, we were bringing Sydney-siders in to spread viruses, we were irresponsible, we were, just after the money. And I can assure you, running a farmer's market does not give you a great income. Trust me, it's a non-for-profit. you know, there was lots of anonymous stuff going on social media, and you could sort of be a little bit distanced and removed from it. But it was when I started getting personal text messages and phone calls from people, and that was really when it hit home, and it became really, really difficult. It was a really dark time. I guess it's fair to say, as a committee, we questioned whether we would even keep running the farmers market. You know, was it worth it? It was really hard. It was bloody tough. And every time you turned around, there seemed to be another obstacle in your path, and you thought, well, why do it? But thankfully, we got past that. We got into the groove. We had great equipment. We invested in our equipment. We had these amazing hand washing stations that kind of let us give a proverbial finger to anyone who questioned whether we were safe or not to run. We were safer than Woolworths, let's face it. So we felt we were on the right track. And we were gaining an immense sense of pride that we were doing something for our community. We weren't sitting back and letting this COVID virus rule our lives. You know, everyone was in turmoil. Everyone was scared. Everyone was looking for some sort of direction and a place to come together. And we felt that a Wednesday afternoon for a couple of hours was the right place to do it, outside in a, you know, ventilated area with sunlight and, you know, your own local community around you. So the connection that we provided was really important, but it was also the fact that we were giving our farmers and our makers a livelihood when so many other venues and avenues had shut down for them. So to us, that was so important. Now, Leanne touched on it. Recently, I was honoured and humbled to be named the Kiama Australia Day Citizen of the Year for my efforts for keeping the farmers market up and running throughout COVID. Oh my God. And don't get me wrong, I'm really super honoured to have received this award. And I said at the time when I received the award, I felt like I was already a winner because I live in Kiama and I live in this wonderful community and I get to do something that I really love every week or every day. It touches my life. But, you know, it's about the team we have around us, and it was really lovely to get so much feedback, I guess, as well. And I do recall people coming up in the street and saying congratulations, and this one particular gentleman came up and slapped me on the back and said, well done for receiving that award. I think you really deserved it because I've never seen someone reverse a trailer better than you had. So I thought that was really fantastic, and I really treasured that comment from him. So. But it does still make me squirm because I consider it's not my award personally, it's an award that I share with an incredible group of people. So I've been involved with the Kiama Farmers Market now for over 7 years, and I came to work with the Kiama Farmers Market after a difficult time with another organisation that left me quite shattered, emotionally scarred, I guess. So coming together to work with this amazing bunch of kick-ass women was truly healing. And that includes Fiona Walmsley from Buena Vista Farm, Marla Gray from the Pines, Cressida McNamara from Pecora Dairy, Kathy Law from Bugle, who's just walked into the room late and needs a seat, if someone can point her in the right direction. And then I've got Jen Hampshire here, and Gillian, who's also our other offside, is not here today, but they make me look good every week. And then more recently, the lovely Camilla's come on board, and she's our phenomenal COVID marshal. So without these ladies, it wouldn't have happened. And I can definitely tell you that there is no greater force than a group of unified women, and boy, these ladies are a force. Now, my dear friend Emily Crump is to blame for this Australia Day award. She took the time to write the nomination letter, and she has submitted it to the Australia Day committee. Now, Emily couldn't be here today. She's got children who have been snotty, probably the right word, and they've had a COVID test and they're okay, but she's looking after her kids today. But she's one of those amazing women who has this knack for raising people up and raising women up. She takes the time, even though I said she's really busy, she's a working mum, she's got 2 small children, and she does thank the women in her life. And as I was about to get in the car this morning, I got a text message, and it was from Emily, wishing me all the best, and she's amazing, and I really want to be more like Emily. Now, as I look around the room, I can't help but think how much effort went into many of you getting here this morning. You know, you had to juggle kids and appointments and changing start times for work and appointments, those sorts of things. So whilst I'm not here to bash the blokes by any means, it is pretty fair to say that women still bear the brunt of all the fundamental planning and juggling that makes the smooth running of a household. So thank you so much for making this effort. It is amazing, and we really appreciate you all being here today. A round of applause for you all. Now, as I mentioned, it is Farmers Market Day, and I had to get up earlier. I'm not finished, Leanne. You wanted me to speak. I'm getting my chance to speak. But for me, it was pretty easy. I mean, I got up a bit earlier in the dark and had to wrangle my husband. I was telling a story where he was supposed to come and help me pack the trailer, but he actually got to the yard but forgot the trailer. It was at home. It was right in front of his car. But anyway, that was my stress this morning. But for me, it was easier because, you know, I'm child-free, which means I deliberately chose not to have children versus being childless, where children are wanted, but it just didn't happen for some medical reason. For me, it was a voluntary decision. So you might ask, why did I share that piece of information with you? Well, when Leanne asked me to speak today, I did some research on this year's theme, Choose to Challenge, and it does encourage us all to choose to challenge inequality in the world around us. And it was at this time I had to stop and think hard, as I don't think I do anything to question gender bias or inequality on a daily basis or even any sort of basis. And I really had to struggle to think of what could I possibly offer today. Yes, being the Kiama Australia Day Citizen Award recipient is something I'm really proud of, but did it really cut it, I guess? So I had to say I feel a bit guilty and uncomfortable about my lack of efforts to create an inclusive world. But then I sort of thought about it, and the theme to Choose to Challenge also is about making a positive difference for women. And for me, this is about challenging women to be real and inclusive. So, you know, I've really benefited from having a wonderful mother who was very, very different. For my mum, when I was younger, she was a constant source of embarrassment. Clothes were optional for her. So it was difficult at times, but, you know, I valued the fact that my mum was really strong and capable and could turn herself to hand to anything. I had strong teachers at primary school who then went on to become friends and a netball coach. I've had strong women as mentors and bosses in different roles. And I've got a strong network of women around me, and I feel very fortunate. But for me, 2020 was a shit of a year, basically. I had a hospital stint for some perimenopausal issues. Sorry, boys, it's girls' stuff we're talking about. My parents decided to separate after 50 years of marriage, and I had a real dawning realisation that I didn't particularly like my husband at the time either. And I even contemplated whether, if I did away with him, could I blame the menopause? So, no, those are the sort of things running through my head in 2020. And just as I was coming to that realisation, I didn't really like my husband. Our beautiful dog Benji, and a lot of you in the room know Benji, know how special he was. Whilst I didn't have children, he was definitely my fur baby. He passed away, and that really was a dark spot and led to some difficult decisions about going to have therapy and getting things back on track and to heal yourself. And I share that because so many times we don't share these sorts of things as women, and they're personal, but they're important. On Monday this week, myself, Jen, who's here, and Gillian, who's not, we attended a lunch at Bangalore Dining that was organised through WorkLife, and the very talented Kiki, aka Tamara Campbell, who is here in the room, there she is, performed as Kiki at the beginning of the lunch. And, you know, as usual, Kiki had us in, you know, laughter, and we're having a really lovely time. But then she did something really quite extraordinary. Before our eyes, she stripped off the Kiki persona and returned back into Tamara and was speaking from her heart about the many faces we wear as women. As we always appear to be in control, we avoid the hard questions, we just go with the flow, yet we're fine, and we don't really ever, we don't always let our walls down and let people see the real us. And this really struck a chord with me. Hence why I've shared some of those personal parts of my life with you today. So, we all know we do it, when we should be embracing the importance of being women and sticking together, and reinforcing that sometimes simple words of encouragement and love can go a long way at lifting someone's spirits and keeping them going. So take a moment, send a text, make a FaceTime call, and tell the important women in your life how much they mean to you and how awesome they are. That's my aim for 2021. I want to be more like my friend Emily. So before I sign off, I just want to touch on the fact that there is an amazing women's event happening here on Saturday night. It's the Rude Ladies Night, which is being organised by Tamara Campbell, aka Kiki. So if you haven't got plans for Saturday night and you want to keep this theme of women, strong women, empowerment, and laughter and fun at the same time, then I suggest you get your tickets now. Tamara will hand out some flyers later on this morning, but it really is a wonderful night, and we should embrace and support the women who are doing wonderful things in our community. So to all the women that have inspired, uplifted and given me hope, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. Happy International Women's Day. Now I'm finished.